Hi, professional writers. Apologies for the delay on the videos. I've been having trouble sleeping, and it's been affecting my life. So today we're going to talk about customer service letters, adjustment letters. So responding to complaint by agreeing with the customer and giving them what they want, and then also saying no to the customer and telling them that you can't do what they want. Okay, so we're going to go over that as well as appropriate language, as well as accentuating the positive and stuff like that. All right, and here we go. So for today, I have for you funny dogs, funny dog pictures to make things a little less boring. So let's get to work. All right, so there's some good ways to be ethical in your professional writing, to keep your writing ethical. So here's some positive tips for professional writers to keep your writing ethical. Try to make sure all your information is accurate, and state all the facts, not just the ones that make your company look good. Distinguish facts from opinion, and you can put your opinion, but put it second after facts. Make sure you check your facts. This will become especially important when we talk about white papers. And don't assume that what an expert has said is the truth. Experts make mistakes too, or they might even lie. So just double check all your facts, okay? All right, now that we have reviewed or gone over how to be ethical in your writing, we're going to talk about appropriate language. So inappropriate language can sometimes distort the message. And so you want to avoid the following kinds of language. You want to avoid using loaded words, terms like admitted instead of said or stated. You know, admitted makes the speaker sound like reluctant, like as if he or she would prefer to hide something. So just like avoid using loaded words when writing. Avoid using sentence structure to convey the subtleties of meaning. So like compare these two examples. Jean's work is slow, painstaking, and meticulous, versus Jean's work is meticulous, painstaking, and slow. Which one seems better? Obviously the second one, because it highlights meticulous and painstaking as opposed to slow, whereas the first one is like, oh, she's so slow and all the good stuff comes later. Okay, so that's an example of kind of using sentence structure to kind of affect your message. You kind of want to avoid doing that. Please avoid sensationalizing. So this has been an issue forever since the beginning of time, or over-dramatizing your language. Okay. We're going to go into stereotypical language, also called biased language, and how to avoid that, which is very similar to discriminatory language. Also avoid using language that's not appropriate to your reader's reading level, to your reader's understanding level, to your reader's attention level. Okay, so avoid using inappropriate language. Why do you want to avoid using inappropriate language? Well, it helps your purpose. It helps your reader be convinced that what you're talking about is the way, is the truth, right? And is something they should do. Your language needs to match your audience's expectations and knowledge, okay? If you throw a bunch of jargon at them, it's not appropriate. Inappropriate language can damage your credibility as well as just turn off your reader and disrupt your purpose. So here are some examples of inappropriate language. Jargon I've already mentioned. So jargon is kind of like specialized language that you think your audience might not really understand. And so this is using fancy model numbers or stuff like that. You want to avoid jargon. Jargon is like in-group language. You want to avoid idioms. Now idioms are like, here's a couple examples of idioms. Idioms are like culturally specific ways of talking that people in an in-group might know about and understand, but people who are not part of that in-group wouldn't understand. So if I say you're pulling my leg, that's an idiom. And you know that it means that I think you're lying or teasing, but someone who's not in the in-group might not know that. Another one is like spill the beans. Another one is like something smells fishy, which you don't mean literally fishy, you just mean something seems to be not on the up and up, or that's another idiom, not right. And so these are good to avoid because not everyone might know. They might be generational specific, and they're definitely also culturally specific, and so if you're writing to an international audience, they're not going to know these, and you really want to avoid them. Okay, non-native speakers have a lot of trouble understanding idioms, so avoid whenever possible. How do you know how formal to write? Well, you think of the audience and you think of the purpose, okay? So the purpose, maybe your purpose is a very formal purpose and you want it to be formal, and maybe the audience is expecting something very formal. That's true for letters, okay? All right, so deceitful language or euphemism. Here are some examples to avoid. So you want to avoid stuff like, the military is famous for these. They say something like collateral damage. There was a bunch of collateral damage on this mission. And that actually means like people died, civilians died. And so like that's kind of an example of like a euphemism that's kind of problematic. So another one is friendly fire. That's another one that's like, oh, it seems friendly, but actually it means you killed your own people. So, try to avoid euphemisms because they can be deceitful. Now, this doesn't mean avoiding politically correct language. You do want to have politically correct language. So instead of writing someone is a schizophrenic, you might want to say someone is a person who has schizophrenia. Does that make sense? Or not a person who's handicapped, but a person who's differently abled. Those are not exactly euphemisms. They're more politically correct language and appropriate language. Okay, you want to avoid stereotypical language, which can be sexist language, which can be biased language. It's basically language that buys into stereotypes. An example is calling a person of color a thug. That's very stereotypical and damaging, and it's not appropriate, especially in professional writing. Okay, and you want to avoid assuming that every actor is a man. So let's look at some examples of this. Here's an appropriate language handout that I've done in the past with professional writers. Okay. So in this first example, let's make this a little bit bigger. And okay. Every intern had to record his readings daily for the spokesman. There's two examples of inappropriate language here. It assumes that every intern is a man and that the spokesman is a man. So how can we change it? Every intern had to record his or her. It should be his or her. Readings daily for the spokesperson. Okay? Although Marcel was an amputee, he could still hunt and peck at the keyboard. You probably don't even need to say this. Maybe you just say something like, Marcel was an adequate typist. Okay? She saw a woman doctor. Why are you specifying that the doctor is a woman? Just say, she saw a doctor who told her to take an aspirin every day. Our agency was founded to help mankind. Now, the problem here is mankind, because it assumes like only men are people. And so how we can change it is to say something like, our agency was founded to help everyone, or the world. John, who is a diabetic, has an excellent attendance record. You don't need to say he's a diabetic. It has nothing to do with his attendance. John has an excellent attendance record. Every social worker found her schedule taxing, not enough days in the week to help out man to man. So this assumes that every social worker is a woman, which is not true. So we can change that to his or her, or you can say something like, all social workers found their schedules taxing. Okay, if you don't like the him or her, which I don't mind, but if you don't like it, you can always change it to plural. Not enough days in the week to help out, and then man to man is a little, so how can we change that? How about one-on-one? Or person to person, or face to face? Maria, who is Cuban, always adds spice to company events. This one I find really problematic. Maybe just Maria is a valuable employee. To be a policeman, now we don't say policeman anymore. What do we say now? Police officer, right? Police officer. Each applicant had to pass a rigorous physical and prove him or herself. Him or herself in the, how about we just take out manly? In the art of self-defense. You could probably say rigorous if you wanted to. It is a wise person who can rise to the top of this cutthroat, volatile stock market, and Sandy Frayne, a middle-aged Irish woman, came by this morning. You don't really need this, right? Came by this morning wanting an appointment about the new policies on energy efficiency. Okay. All right, hopefully that's helpful. All right. Okay, so let's go over letters with the remaining 3 minutes left. I'm going to focus mainly on yes letters, and I'm going to do another video for no letters and review. Okay, so there's a bunch of different kinds of letters that you could write in a business setting. Let's focus on yes letters. Now remember, in both kinds of customer service letters, you want to achieve the you attitude. You want to put yourself in the reader's position. Make sure your letter is courteous and well-informed and professional. You want to convey a positive image of yourself to your readers. And you want to show that you respect them and have concern for their questions and comments and concerns. Okay, remember that it is the reader's needs that organize or that control the organization as well as the tone and message. So think about what their needs are first. Remember to avoid stressing what your company has done. Most people don't care, okay? All right. Remember to use courteous language. Avoid discourteous language, like we neither want nor need the new committee you've suggested. Avoid hostile language, like you did it wrong, all right, or this is totally unacceptable, or you're unprofessional. Avoid pompous language. Instead of saying in lieu of, which is pompous, you could just say instead of. Instead of saying remittance, just say refund, okay? Avoid jargon. In a good news customer relation letter, tell them up front that you agree with them, that you agree that the service was not up to par or whatever they're complaining about. Tell them you agree. Tell them that you are going to solve their problem for them, that you approve of their request, that you are grateful for their business. Remember, in a good newsletter, be direct. Bottom line up front, which is what BLUF stands for, not lying, remember. Make sure you say right away, yes, you are right, and I'm giving you your refund. Don't postpone the good news. Okay, we're going to skip this for now. So here's how I would go about organizing an adjustment letter. In your first paragraph, admit the customer's complaint is justified and apologize, as well as thank them for writing, and state what you will do to correct the problem. Your refund should arrive by blah, blah, blah. Tell the customer what happened to cause the problem and why it won't happen again, and end on a friendly and positive note. All right, to be continued in the next video.